Hi, I'm Brent Calmer. Welcome to my channel where the goal is to help you enjoy even more the perfumes you love by understanding a little bit more about what goes into them. And in this episode, we'll be covering 5 perfume terms that you absolutely have to know. 1. Note. A note is a single identifiable scent within a fragrance. So a woody scent might have a violet note, or a floral might have a tuberose note, or it might be something more abstract like petrichor, which is the sweet ozonic scent that you get when rain falls on dry soil. 2. Accord. When you put multiple notes together in perfumery, you have an accord, similar to the way that you put multiple musical notes together in music to form a chord. One of the most famous accords in perfumery is the fougere accord, which first hit the scene with the 1882 Fougere Royale, created for Houbigant by Paul Parquet. Now, Parquet had a breakthrough in that he used coumarin, a synthetically derived ingredient, a very sweet ingredient derived from the tonka bean, used that in combination with lavender, oak moss, and a variety of other notes. And kind of the core of that came to be known as the Fougere accord. And of course, the Fougere fragrance family has grown on the strength of that original composition. Now, another famous accord is Sophia Grossman's Hug Me accord. We did cover this in the ISO-E Super video. It's a mix of hedione, galaxolide, ISO-E Super, and alpha-methyl-ionone. It has a very comforting scent, as you would imagine by the name, and it was first rolled out in the 1990 Tresor. Now, you may be wondering, how do I tell if something's a note or an accord, or does it matter? It kind of depends on where you're standing. If you're at the perfume counter at Saks, and the salesperson says, this fragrance has a rose note, they're saying, I detect rose. I smell rose in this perfume. If you're a perfumer, you create the impression of a rose by putting together a variety of different perfume molecules, often dozens of them, to create this impression. So to you, it's an accord if you're a perfumer. But to the person experiencing it, it tends to be a note. 3. Longevity. Longevity seems fairly obvious, and maybe it is. It's the duration that a scent lasts, typically when sprayed or applied in some way to skin. What's interesting is that longevity varies greatly across fragrance families. So a citrus cologne type fragrance will have relatively limited longevity. It won't last very long because it is composed mainly of high volatility molecules that evaporate quickly. Whereas a amber or musk scent will have much greater longevity because it has larger molecules that tend to stay in place longer. 4. Siage. Siage is a French word that means the wake left by a passing ship, and this is, of course, perfect imagery for the wearer of perfume passing by and leaving a scent trail. And this is a motion-based concept, so it differs somewhat from projection, which is used to denote the experience of people around the wearer of the scent. 5. Absolute. An absolute is a high-impact fragrance material that is derived from natural substances by means of solvent extraction. 3 of the more typical and more prized absolutes are rose, jasmine, and orris. An absolute is different from an essential oil. The latter is derived by means of steam distillation, and the same material can produce an absolute that has different olfactory characteristics than the essential oil. Absolutes are extremely expensive, mainly because of the massive amount of raw material that's needed to produce usable quantities of it. And so jasmine, orris, rose, all of those are extremely expensive. Partly explains why if a fragrance uses an absolute, they want to make sure that you know, because it tends to be a very expensive and precious ingredient. So let's review. We have note, accord, longevity, siage, and absolute. These are the 5 terms for today. Learn them, live them, love them. See you next time.